to contribute to the process of development. Now, and not only that, another issue here, most of these key players and actors in the society, they have their own interests. So the diversity of the interests of these key actors and players are very, very important in getting into that game. Now, I'm identifying three key players, which the speaker also has already spoken about. We have on this side the government and the policy. This is the policy-making organ, and also it is also engaging in the provision of services. And on the other side, we have the industry, the private sector, and I'm also putting here the public sector. And they're all providing goods and services to the society. And then on the other side, that's where the center of the central point of this topic, which the guest speaker has already presented, the higher learning institutions, the universities and other research institutions, which are all trying to provide services to all these. Now, as universities, when we understand the society, we are supposed to generate knowledge and skills. But here, as I've already said, we need to take into account the diversity of these key players and actors. The diversity of the ideas, the diversity of knowledge and skills that they need has to be taken into account. And of course, again, the key here is to solve their problems. But again, the problems here are so diverse that one has to take into account as we provide these responsibilities. Now, probably one striking questions which many ask, we as universities, we as research institutions, we as higher learning institutions, in addressing all these challenges, what is our position and how do we take read into this? We normally teach and we are developing curricula that in one or another have to address some of these issues. But what we normally face, we as universities, is the relationship that we have between the government, the industry. Whose curriculum do we have to develop, given the diversity of these players and actors? This has been a very, very serious challenge to universities. And not only that, given the interests of the different players and actors, who is going to be financing? Who should finance all these activities? Because when you have a diversity of individuals or key players in the basket, and most of these players, some are competing. They are competing. how do you address their needs and their problems with their competing ends and interests? Of course, the guest speaker pointed out that in order to work effectively and be able to cope within the changes, we need to network and collaborate. Similarly, the collaborators, they have different interests and they have different ideas, and therefore, many universities, they find themselves in a dilemma in terms of who should take the lead. But again, what we are also facing is the fact that society needs are so dynamic, they are not static. They keep on changing. And in fact, you provided a very clear illustrations in terms of what has happened from independence, when Tanzania became independent, till today. Things have changed and they keep on changing. When we got independence, the main policy agenda was industrialization. We went through the imports substitution policy, industrial policy. We went into the protection of infant industry policy, and then we went to these after SAP. But at the end of the day, the experience was many industries collapsed or some survived. And now the question is, there is a revival of getting back to industrialization policy. And there are issues that are now being discussed, whether should Tanzania keep on with the industrialization policy. But the other hand is the question that Tanzania is already deindustrializing, given the economic transformation that is taking place. Should the service take over from the other sectors that we used to see? There are a lot of other questions that we need to answer. And this bring a lot of challenges that as universities we need to look into. Now, you have pointed out about to which ideology we should subscribe. Yes, it is true. This is another challenge. We as researchers, educators, or knowledge generators and skill creation or generators, how do we get into this ideology? And how do you influence the ideology? This is another issue that we need to clearly understand, and probably we should all discuss and see how best can we contribute to this process of development and economic transformation. But the other issue here, that which I think is very, very important, is the tripartite relationship among the government, industry, and the universities or other research institutions. How do we bring them together so that we have a common understanding of the major knowledge, skills, and problems that we all need to subscribe to, and build a common strategy or solution into solving those problems? If we can have a clear this tripartite relationship, probably this could be the best way to go. But this is just some food for thought. We need to clearly understand and discuss this, and probably understand and see if we need a clear policy on this, then probably we may have a common understanding and see how best we can proceed. Because short of that, we may not have a clear understanding among or between these three ends or these actors, because there are many. We have the international community and whoever. They are all part of this relationship, but who is going to be the reading role? Who is going to provide the reading role in order to see how best this can be handled? And this probably could be one of the major discussion, and see how do we bring these key players and actors on board and be able to see how best we can handle this. With these few remarks, Mr. Guest of Honor, I would end up by saying what should be the clear roles and responsibilities of the various stakeholders that cooperate or work with the universities to see how best we can contribute to this process, and that probably could help to see how best we end. And probably the discussion should also try to see in terms of the role of the university in this process. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, our discussant, Professor Mwakalobo. Now, given the fact that we are somewhat running short of time, we are going to have 5 questions only. 5 questions. And all the 5 questions will be asked, and when it's time for answers, then the one who answers will stand and respond to all the 5 questions. So, as I said before, please, when you ask your question, we don't need any background to the question. We don't need a literature review to the question. Go straight to your question. Go straight to your question, and that will help us to redeem the time. So right now, microphones, please. Okay, all right. Questions? Okay, we shall have the first question by Professor Msele here. Okay, we have the second question there. We have the third question here. I'm still looking at those hands. We have the fourth question there. I think that's Dr. Paul, if I'm not mistaken. The last question, question number 5. Okay, question number 5. I understand that we have many questions, but we really don't have that time. So those will be the 5 questions. Professor Msele, welcome.
Yes, thank you, Master of Ceremony. And how do you expect the universities to survive the changes to come, whether with the ideology, without the ideology, without the role of technology? Thank you.
The second question, I pointed somebody to ask the second question. Okay, Dr. Antwenya, I think.
Thank you very much. I'll have to give a background, though you said we should not, because the guest speaker has made it very clear that we need to encourage and embrace discussion. So my expectation that it should not be a question and an answer, rather a discussion. So I want to put a point of order that when we're invited in a discussion like this, let people speak. And we made it very clear that we should not be rushed. Otherwise, it makes no sense of having a gathering like this. So the guests of honor and members of the high table, my name is Julius Edward Ntwenya. I'm the chairperson of the University of Dodoma Academic Staff Association. I would like to congratulate Professor Wangwe. Wangwes have never disappointed us for many years. So you made it very good, Prof. And thank you very much. You have highlighted the importance of the university's autonomies. And to my knowledge, seems like we have lost that. So, owing to our experience as a professor in this country, is it that the government has taken that autonomy from us, or it is us, the universities, who have surrendered that power to the government, and we are complaining? So lead us carefully, like what is it that the universities can do in a situation, in a state of a quagmire like this? So that is my humble request. Kindly lead us on what we should do to embrace that power, the autonomy of the universities.
Question number 3. Your name and your question, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. MC. Thank you very much, Professor Wangwe, and the Vice Chancellor and the Deputy Vice Chancellors. My question is really taken up by the first speaker, but I also want to maybe comment or ask how willing, we said we have a tripartite relationship between the government, the industry, and the universities. How willing are the other two, especially the one that is holding the handle where everybody else is holding the edge, sharp edge? Thank you.
The fourth question, Dr. Paul Loisulie.
Thank you very much. Professor Wangwe said we should struggle to understand our society. Now, I was going through social media, and especially Twitter. I found, I came across with one of the interesting comment. Allow me to read. Hivi ilikuwaje mbona maprofesa wengi walipata nafasi sana awamu ya 5, lakini ndio vitu vingi viliharibika? Shida ilikuwa nini? Jibu moja tu. Maprof wana njaa sana. Wana njaa na tamaa kali sana. Wanaona huko vioni hawathaminiwi kabisa. So far, akamalizia hayana mchango wowote kwa taifa hili. That is from social media. So my question is, do we understand the society? Lastly, few days ago, 15 Tanzanians were conferred honorary degrees, but one of them is a member of parliament. He was quoted saying in the social media that he wanted a debate with a person of a professorial rank because he's now a scholar. What is your reaction on that? Thank you.
All right. The fifth question and the last question. Your name and your question, please.
Yeah. My name is Isaac Legonda. Mine could be a comment. Yeah, the topic is all about development and transformation, and we are focusing on the challenges and opportunities. Now, to my knowledge, I think something was not highlighted, which is the key driver of the challenges and opportunities in the very near future. We have this, the so-called African Continental Free Trade Area. With the African Free Trade Area, this is all about creating a single market for goods and services. Now, having this African free, having the one or single continental free trade area, this is going to bring a very stiff competition. Now, the universities, are they aware of this? To my knowledge, I'm sure that most of the universities in Tanzania, I'm not aware of whether they know in the very near future the country has ratified this CFTA. Now, how are we prepared to compete with the African universities in the same area where we have the challenges and where we have the opportunities? How are we prepared? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for the questions. Now, this is what we do. We make that the first round of questions. There will be the second round of questions. All right? So that is the first round of questions, and there will be the second round of questions. And so it's better that the first round, you know, we have response to the first round, and then we shall come for the second round. You're welcome, our keynote speaker, Professor Wangwe.
Thank you very much. I think now we are really deep into the discussion. We are not making a formal presentation. I think it's better I do it from here. Professor Msele, you have pointed a very important issue, technology. This is an issue which is also dear to me. Maybe when I was talking about technology, you may have stepped out. But I made three main points. The first point I made is technological dependence was an issue of concern at the time of independence. Bado, it is an issue. Therefore, there is a case for having high priority on STI, Science, Technology, Innovation. Because that's an important aspect in economic dependence, and it is a force driving competitiveness. The second point I made is University of Dodoma. You are likely to have already a school, and you are the principal. Now, what that school is to achieve should be able to run through how the university is conducting its delivery of education. So it's extremely important in modernizing the whole university by impacting on it. But the third point I made is the COVID period has shown what technology can do. So let us make it now a normal situation. Even after COVID, we've seen the power of the education, of technology. Let's capitalize on that. So I agree with you that that's a very important issue which we cannot afford to ignore. Then we have a point raised by Julius on the autonomy of the university. This autonomy has been reduced over time. There are several factors, maybe because of the many universities now being funded by government, sharing resources, could be a contributing factor. But power is not given on a silver plate. So what I will reiterate is recovering what has been lost. The university has a lot to play to do